procurement, storage, maintenance and distribution of pharmacy stock. Okay. So stock control is an integral part of the running of a hospital pharmacy. It's necessary for all pharmacy staff to have a general knowledge on the process in which stock is ordered, received, stored and maintained in order to support a smoothly running department. Okay, so to identify stock requirements, we can use iPharmacy to do a generated order, physical check of stock on hand. Special orders book is like a book that we use to like staff members can write down for our stock controllers so they know things that are low or for orders of stock that we don't normally keep for whatever reason. And outside orders from external sites. So for instance, we supply or we do orders for Capricorn Correctional Centre. Okay. So furthermore, pharmacy computer systems are a vital tool in keeping stock data. So other sites may require access to our stock levels, and that's just a way of them being able to see what we have stock on hand. And it is essential that these data be maintained. So you want to have an accurate snapshot of data in your iPharmacy so that the external sites, if they need, can find out, in an emergency who's got what. And out of stock medications from our central supplier are documented in a list which we receive weekly. So that also helps us to know, to be able to pass on to wards or patients how long it will take for their stock to come in. Pictured here is a screenshot of the iPharmacy order. Okay, so in ordering stock, all orders for our hospital are placed through central pharmacy. They are responsible for placing the supply out to tender and attaining standing orders from companies which supply the best cost of stock. So that's for our LAM items or formulary items. And so those purchasing contracts, they benefit not only us financially, but the companies who can provide the lowest cost will also get recognised from discharge medications and then filter out into the community. So it's beneficial not only for us but for those companies. So in the case where our sole central supplier, central pharmacy, cannot source an item for us, we may need to organise our own purchasing contract from other suppliers. So that can be done. It's not normally something that we have to do because central pharmacy normally take care of ours, but if we have to, we can. iPharmacy will generate an order. We can generate an order on iPharmacy, which will be based on current usage and stock on hand. It is detrimental, as I said before, that our data in iPharmacy is correct, because obviously that's what the computer generated orders go by. And all generated orders are overseen by the stock controller. And I haven't written it in here, but also a pharmacist should oversee before submission. And sometimes brands and pack sizes can change as to whose purchasing contracts we're using at the time, or central pharmacy are using. So so all orders need to be reviewed. Special orders are processed as needed, either with our regular order or if it's something that's deemed urgent by the pharmacist or the directors of pharmacy, and that can be ordered in overnight at obviously extra authorisations. So normally by the directors or assistant directors of pharmacy here. So these include SAS, Special Access Scheme, so they have a Category A or Category B, and IPA, so that's individual patient approval items. When receiving stock, okay, so when we're signing for a pallet or something, we should be making sure that on the consignment is the correct amount of boxes or pallet quantity. Any discrepancies should be reported then and there to the courier. Okay, stock is then unpacked carefully, checked for any sort of damage or discrepancies, and it should be done by a separate staff member to the person who's placed the order. This is just protects our organisation from instances of fraud. Cold chain items is one to look out for. They will be marked out on their outside carton, so they need to be taken care of immediately as soon as they come into the pharmacy to keep the cold chain. Any breaches should be immediately reported, and the stock should be quarantined in a fridge until such time as it's deemed safe for use, to find out, how long it's been since the cold chain breach. Whilst checking stock off against the invoice, should be always checking, the integrity of the stock. Expiry dates should not be in excess of 6 months from the date of the receipt, and let the stock controller know if not. Okay. If the order includes controlled drugs, the signed and dated invoice should be faxed back to the supplier immediately to acknowledge receipt. Any discrepancies between the invoice and stock received should be reported to the Director of Pharmacy or the hub pharmacist immediately. So the receipt of stock should be written into the controlled drugs register, which we have here. The stock immediately put in the controlled drug safe, just to reduce any instances of stock getting mixed up with other stock. It needs to be tightly managed. Cytotoxic medications, as you can see in the picture here, will come wrapped individually. That's in the case of tablets and things. They will always have a sticker identifying that they are a cytotoxic medication, and care should be taken when opening, so not to just slice in there, because obviously it's a medication that can cause harm. So any discrepancies, just in regular ordering again, any discrepancies between the invoice and stock received should be reported immediately to the stock controller, and then they will follow up with Central Pharmacy as to where or why the stock hasn't arrived. And once all ticked off, the invoices are submitted to the stock controller for receipting. It's important to input this data and report these discrepancies again to make sure that our data stock on hand is always correct and as accurate as possible. Okay, with storage, all stock should have an allocated location in the pharmacy. So they should be identified with shelf tags, and here in our pharmacy we have sections. So there's your ward supply, injections, there's your tablets and capsules section. So everything has a place. That just helps just the everyday flow, so that everybody knows where everything is. Cold chain items stored between 2 and 8 degrees, and controlled drugs, which are in the pharmacy safe, are to be stored immediately upon receipt in adherence to their relevant policies and procedures. So that's what we touched on before. If the order includes flammable items, they should be put away in the flammable cupboard as soon as reasonably possible, just for safety reasons. And special orders or stock without a shelf tag should be brought to the attention of the stock controller, because they are most likely the person who will know why we're ordering something that isn't normally ordered in the pharmacy. So when placing stock on the shelves, should be careful to rotate stock, so the shortest expiry at the front, so it's being used first. Excess stock has a place like a specified shelving, and it should be reviewed regularly and topped up onto the shelves, again taking care with rotating the stock. So if it's a high turnover medication, we should be checking the excess stock area first before replacing new stock in that. Manual handling and workplace health and safety requirements should also be kept in mind when transporting any stock. So that's lifting, that's trip hazards, putting things down and not going back for them, things like that. So you want to make it a safe work environment for everyone. Okay, maintenance. A daily rolling stock take roster is implemented in our department, and staff members can nominate to come in 30 minutes early and leave 30 minutes early, just so that they can help with the stock take procedure. So it's generated on iPharmacy, and basically a count is done on the random generated drugs. Stock controller will enter that in, and any discrepancies are investigated. It is the responsibility of all pharmacy staff to be aware of stock movement to some extent, because we all need to be helping each other in maintaining a steady flow of stock. So if a ward requires more of something, or not requiring as much of something anymore, it needs to be communicated to our stock controller, because we don't want to end up with too much stock, which will cause us to have sort of just stagnant stock and money tied up in stock. Or if we don't have enough, then odds are we're going to have to be paying a lot of money to get stock up with freight costs, etc. Fridge temperatures are recorded twice a day, and alarms are tested weekly. The controlled drug safe is counted weekly and noted in the controlled drugs register that it has been counted. The safe is always to remain closed and locked, and when it's not being accessed directly, so no doors just failing all willy-nilly. Any security concerns in the pharmacy department should be raised immediately with the Director of Pharmacy in charge of operations. So just anything at all, if you find something just doesn't seem right, it's always better to report it rather than just let it go. In the case of an emergency, we do have a security number 777, and then security will come directly, or in the case where we can't access a phone, there are duress buttons and kick bars. Okay, so in our pharmacy department there are pharmacy assistants allocated to each section to ensure that everything's kept clean and tidy, and secured as per the Health, Drugs and Poisons Regulation. So, as a method of cost saving, when wards are no longer requiring stock, we allow them to do returns. What this means is only medications that are dispensed from our hospital as inpatient stock. It must not have left the hospital, can be returned and reused instead of wasting and having to, or having stock go out of date on the wards. So it should be processed as soon as possible as it comes back into the pharmacy. That way we're not reordering too much stock, we're not, it's not just sitting there going out of date. So while we're processing, we determine which is usable and unusable. So as I said before, that's, so patient zone would be deemed unusable because it's they brought it from an outside pharmacy. Where stock is a liquid, we don't return liquids, and its integrity, we have to check it for its integrity before we can deem it reusable. Stock should be within 6 months of expiring, and yeah, always just taking into account if it's not likely that we are going to reuse it, we don't want stagnant stock. So if it's a bulk load, we will always try and find out if there are other sites who might use it before we do. So recalled stock and drug alerts. So those normally come to us through fax, email, or post. And what they do is they alert us as to an issue with a drug which requires a recall, and then we are then to action that. So they normally list a batch number, an expiry, and then we can then go to our stock here in the department and on the wards and select and quarantine that stock so that we can further investigate whether it is the stock that is said to be at risk. So we have pharmacy assistants on certain wards who would be responsible for checking each ward for that kind of stock. We can also place a notification by our Central Queensland Hospital Health System broadcast email, so that all hospital staff can be aware of this. So for instance, if magnesium of a certain batch pops up just randomly in a ward who don't normally keep it, they can look at the batch, they can be notified that nobody should be taking that. And yeah, so once identified, we quarantine all the stock here and then go through the processes. So in the case of companies like recalling their stock, we would write down the amount and work with them to be sending it back and getting a credit. Okay. And that's all I have. Thank you for listening.